Hey Zainers, welcome back to the Saints TV YouTube channel. Hope you're all having an amazing week so far. Twomey has dropped his latest Phantom Draft. He did the top 30, the late picks, and some whispers. And there's a little bit to talk about with St Kilda, which is nice. We talked to him last week and he had some great insight on Jevan Phillipou and Kai Fincher. And I did ask him about the back end of the draft, if there was going to be any sliders that we could keep an eye out for. And he didn't name them, but in this article, there's some extra information that we can go through. So I'll put it up on the screen now. This was yesterday at 6 p.m. And we'll just quickly go through his top 30. The key thing that I want to point out is that neither Fincher, which was expected, and Phillipou are listed in his top 30. So when I spoke to Cal, I'll just go through this a little bit quicker. When I spoke to Cal last week, he had him at 18 as a rough sort of guide. He doesn't have him in the 30 at this point in time, which I think is very beneficial for St Kilda. So we'll just go to exactly what Cal said. So just to round out our draft picks, 50, 62, 70, likely to use two selections on the night. And he has kind of explained this. So he'll say, it'll be a wait for the Saints to get involved in the draft after a super busy trade and free agency period. The first point of action may be deciding on whether to match a bid for NGA prospect Kai Fincher. His range seems likely to begin around the 30s mark, which would be expected to be matched by St Kilda. South Australian Zane Piker has been a player that Saints have looked at as a late selection, while they would also consider trading up the order if Jevan Phillipou happens to be available deeper in the draft, which is a possibility. As we just saw, he's not in the 30 for Cal, and Cal is usually pretty spot on at this point in time. The club has also done work on West Coast father-son prospect Charlie Banfield, a taller midfielder who finished the year strongly. The Saints quietly delisted Patrick Said, but will re-rookie him, while Ronnie Burns was also delisted, but will be picked up as a national draftee, while the club will have Tex Wanganeen as a train-on player over summer as the former Bomber pushes to win a second chance at AFL level. So that is the latest news from Cal. I do want to go through each of those plays that he has named. We can go through, there's so many names that St Kilda are linked to and every club is linked to. Go on Big Footy and you'll find people that suggest 20 players that we're going to pick with one or two picks. But I'm just going to go with the names that Cal has mentioned. So straight off the bat, we want to look at Kai Fincher just to shed a little bit more information on what type of player he is. If you don't know much about him, I've got this and then I've got some highlights of him. So hopefully I don't get a copyright strike. But if I do, so what? Hopefully you enjoy a little bit more of the insights. So Kai Fincher is more of a sort of halfback flanker midfielder. He's explosive. He takes the game on. He's versatile, as I mentioned, so can go through the midfield, can play at halfback, probably could play anywhere across the midfield, even half forward if you really wanted to. 184 centimeters. He played for the Sandringham Dragons. And I think a lot of St Kilda people, Woody in particular, is very bullish on Kai Fincher. If we do pick him up, his draft range is 30 to 45. So that is what we're looking at for Kai Fincher. I think it would be a very good pickup. He did debut in his VFL this year, and these are some of his highlights from his VFL debut. And by all reports, 26 disposals, 5 marks, 6 tackles, and 4 clearances. You can see that he sort of fit in pretty smoothly. That's him getting the ball there. I think the key standout for Kai is that he plays with a level of maturity for someone that's so new to this. You know, this is his VFL debut. So for him to go from this to perform at that level and then to be a chance to obviously sign up as a St Kilda player, hopefully, no doubt on an AFL list in general, but hopefully a St Kilda player. There he is coming out of the clearance, so playing as a midfielder there as well. That explosiveness out of the contest. And he's a hard nut, which we love. You know, I'd like to think that you just want as many of these types of players as possible that can go through the midfield. And if you look at halfback, I mean, it was talked about on our debate last week, and Woody made the point, you know, Fincher could easily take that spot if if we draft him and he hits the ground running in pre-season, because that is a position on the ground where we all struggle to put a player. I put Hunter Clark there. We put Winhager there, Taru there. It could be a Fincher. It could be a Travalia. So there's options across the board, but I think from what Fincher has shown, if we do get him late in the draft, and obviously, we'll see what clubs want to do on the night if we have to match a bit or so, but I think that'd be a great pickup, and I do expect him to be a St Kilda player. So that is Kai Fincher. The next one is Zane Piker. Apologies. So Zane Piker, Woodville, West Torrens. So that's where Mateus and Jevan play, obviously. Forward midfielder, a bit more on the shorter side, 179 centimetres. A little bit of a pocket rocket, quick, very high impact, very clever type of player. Can go through the midfield, can impact the scoreboard. And we see in modern day football that these types of players are absolutely dime a dozen. They're so important for teams. A lot of the best teams have them. That can roam through and obviously play as that small forward type player as well. There's a really good sort of graphic here to explain his strengths and weaknesses from Central. I think you can download this. You sign up and you can get this full catalogue of draftees and the breakdown, and you can see sort of where he exceeds in terms of speed, strength's pretty good, contested sort of player, high energy, hurt factor, kick penetration, scoreboard impact, speed, composure and endurance. But if you're playing more forward, you probably don't need to worry about endurance as much. But if you're going to become a midfielder, you do want to be able to work on that. So that is Zane Piker. Let's look at some of his highlights. Again, thanks to Rookie Me Central, they've got some great footage on YouTube to check out. That's a good goal. And I guess that's a type of player that we really like, a player that can sniff a goal. Midfielders that can kick goals. Darcy Wilson could be that. We know Mateus could be that. Naz could be that. Hopefully Sam Flanders, we know, is pretty handy around the sticks when he played for the Gold Coast Suns. Look at that turn there, that low center of gravity. You could just to me this type of player is that sort of potentially that pest type of player. He's just annoying but good. That's clean. Plays on and kicks the goal anyway. Doesn't even look. That's a bit of swagger there. So that's a type of player that Zane Piker is. Finds the fall of the ball very well. That's a clever goal. I think we've seen that one already. There's more highlights on YouTube if you want to check them out. I don't want to go too long because I might get in trouble, but that's it. Look at that. Clearly a type of player that wants to play on at all costs, which might suit us moving forward if we want to play sort of a high-octane football style. Nice mark. Definitely plays bigger than what he is. 179, but contested, good above his head, clever around goals, can win his own ball. I think that's a very handy player. So that is Zane Piker. Obviously, coming up, Jevan Phillipou. This is the one we're going to keep a big eye on tomorrow night, and we're going to see whether clubs do bid on him. We do know that he is that sort of midfield forward hybrid that we really, really like. Very similar to Mateus. In a way, he is shorter than Mateus. Probably more agile. Maybe a little bit quicker. But dual-footed, that's a big thing. Watching some of his highlights, his left foot, right foot game is very, very strong. We don't have many of those players in the team. I'd say Hunter Clark is probably the most obvious one for me that's dual-footed. Power running. I think Jevan did say Mateus has probably got him for endurance, but overall, even though it does say strength is running capacity, overall, he's, to me, I don't know, he's got a little bit of Zach Butters about him. I don't like doing those comparisons, but watching him and the way he turns and gets out of traffic and hits a target, very Zach Butters-esque. And it says here that, there's no denying Phillipou's athletic acumen. He tested well at the National Draft Combine, exhibiting his turn of speed, with an 8.089 speed agility test time, good enough for 8th place. That translates to twists and turns on field, which keep the opposition guessing. And that's why I mentioned very similar to Zach Butters, because to me, Zach Butters can turn on a dime and then turn again and then turn again, and you can't get him, and he hits a target inside 50. So that is Jevan Phillipou. Hopefully he doesn't get picked up on the first night, and that means it does open the door for us. This is a bit of Jevan Phillipou. That pick up, left foot. Missed it, but that was nice. 31 disposals, 6 tackles, 6 clearances, 8 inside 50s and 2 goals in this under 18s round 13 match. And yeah, key point, obviously, broken arm, missed a lot of football. Yeah, look at that. Just that sort of composure. You know, some players would have blazed away there, but he's sort of played on. Here he goes again. And obviously, yeah, it's been talked about similar to Mateus in that he is very confident in himself, and I love that. And I think we need more players like that. So if we can unite brothers and they've got that swagger about them, I think that's only a good thing. It's going to run past. Yeah, it'd be very exciting if we can pick him up. I'd be stoked. If we just walked away from the draft with him and Fincher, or yeah, I mean, I think everyone thinks that might be just the perfect scenario if we just picked up the two of them. But there is also Charlie Banfield. So Claremont, midfield forward again, but of the taller size. So very similar in Phillipou, but taller. 192 centimeters. Like that is, I mean, I think Cooper Sharman is 192 to 193 centimeters. So we're talking about a potential, like a player that could play forward and be damaging there. Overhead marking, size, versatility, work rate, improvements, kicking polish, and speed. West Coast father-son, I believe as well. So I don't know how that comes into play with us, but I don't know if West Coast are going to take him, but he is one that is linked to us as well. So let's look at Charlie Banfield. This was in
7 on the
Waffle Colts grand final, and he was very dominant on this day. 28 disposals, 5 marks, 4 tackles, 9 inside 50s, and 2 goals. He is number 6. I think he would be an interesting pickup because we don't really have a hugely, I think Mateus would be one of our taller mids once he gets going in there consistently. Flanders isn't. Naz, I think he's 180 odd. Windy's 180 odd. So he would be one of the taller ones. So I think that could be interesting, and his ability to push forward as well could be good. Like having him and Mateus rotate forward, always have a bit of height down there. And obviously midfield rotation is very important, but this one's probably unlikely. But having that size, that's the type of player that could play most games in his first season. And obviously Boxall, he's got size about him. He could definitely go through there at some point. Yeah, that's good. Very aggressive. So that's Charlie Banfield. If you want to check out all these highlights, Footy Stuff has got it on YouTube. And then you can also find it on Rookie Me Central. it's going to be an interesting couple of nights. Saners, Tex Wanganeen as well as a train-on player. And then the situation with Patrick Said to re-rookie him. Ronnie Burns to also go back onto as a national draftee. So back onto the primary list, it looks like. That'll be interesting to see what happens. So my personal preference is I'd love to just nail the 2 picks, get Fincher, get Phillipou, job done. But it'll be interesting to see how, experimental we get depending on what happens and if we find some sliders in that back end and what we want to do maybe with future picks. Obviously, Cal did mention we're very unlikely, almost next to zero chance of bringing in the 2026 first, which we might not even need to do that, obviously, because if no one, Phillipou or Fincher aren't going to be picked up in that first round, we're perfectly fine to use a future second or third, and that would be probably future in 2027. So a bit of a wait and see on that, but very, very exciting nonetheless to get to this time of year, to sort out the list. And the list is already looking excellent, but, you look at the way we tried to pick the best 23, and there's 30, 31, 32 good players, strong players that we could pick in that 23. So you add some pretty strong draftees onto that, and you're looking very good in that depth department and the VFL team as well in terms of strength. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, Saners. Just a bit of a run through on what Cal spoke about yesterday. I just wanted to give you the latest on what he had put out in his Phantom. So Kai Fincher, Zane Piker to look out for, Jevan Phillipou, and Charlie Banfield. Those are the key names to look out for tomorrow night and Thursday night. So thanks very much, Saners. Enjoy the rest of your week. Take care. And as always, go you mighty Saners. See you guys.